of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Glad to have you all here with us. We've got a good, exciting agenda tonight, so thank you for coming. Do we have any additions or deletions? Okay. Opportunity for public comment for agenda items. You know, right? This is after?
No, yeah.
Okay. Superintendent report.
Just a couple of items. We did start speaking with the teachers union yesterday regarding the next school year calendar. So if you have any feedback or items you would like for us to consider, float those ideas and considerations our direction. We'll take the next 4 to 6 weeks to sort through what next year might look like. Speaking of calendar, we recently conducted our half-day early release for professional development. It was a beautiful day. Kids got to go home half a day. And Mr. Deal, do you feel comfortable to just on the spur of the moment just comment about what occurred on that day?
Sure, it was a lot. We had a very nice blend of like local folks facilitating the professional development, but also consultants that we've been working with, some for the first time, some who are making return visits. So at the elementary level, primary, there was some refresher training around the science of reading. And then at the upper grade levels for elementary, they started to dive into their iLearn checkpoint data, which I've had the chance to present on previously. When we got to the intermediate school level, we continued to work with Solution Tree around professional learning communities and the consultant that we've been working with there. The middle school level had the chance to work directly with Katie Marash from BSI to address some of the proactive behavioral strategies that they could begin to implement with some of the things that they're seeing with the 7th and 8th graders. The high school team was divided into thirds. 1/3 of them continued their work with one of our consultants around professional learning communities, building the guaranteed and viable curriculum. The other groups were divided in half. Part of their time they worked with Apple Jim, who was coming to us from out west as a result of the digital learning grant, while the other half worked with the rest of the high school administrative team on some safety protocols and procedures. So it was differentiated at every grade level and kind of depending on the planning needs that we had. So good to have no dire sub-coverage needs and bring everybody together as needed.
Great, thank you. Some feedback I had gotten was when we put this all together, it was to get our teachers an opportunity for development. Some feedback I got was the students were really relieved to have that break and that day, and I forgot, half days are really fun. And that it was a nice day, it was a good timing for the students to have a little relief and get out early too, so I think it was good across the board for everybody.
Sure. And we'll be having a 3-day fall break come up week after next, so we'll take it for a spin and see if it's something we want to replicate the next year.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Is Gina presenting today for intermediate school?
Is she here? Gina is here. Not.
That one.
Yes. Mrs. McCarrick is in the house and would love for you to come up and tell us about the launch of the new intermediate school, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the best that's yet to come.
I have just some notes so I can remember. I'm a nervous public speaker, so thank you for having me and letting me come and highlight LIS. I want to start off in talking about highlights. I would be remiss if I didn't immediately talk about my incredible team that I get to work with every day, and I'm really excited some of them are here tonight. Being a principal is hard work. I don't think anybody would be surprised to hear that. And opening a brand new school as a principal is really hard work. But part of what has made it so much easier is this exceptional team of teachers. I can't say enough about them. So, our school, we're building of 493 students, 28 teachers, and so many more incredible staff members who help our school run each day. We had some really great celebrations. We've been able to successfully live as two schools under one roof with almost no crossover with middle school students. We've been able to offer fine arts electives to every one of our students in music, art, and band, as well as specials with STEM, PE, and library. speaking of library, there's a lot to brag about there. Our new media center is beautiful. It's so great, and to see the kids really living in that literacy and reading, and they're nestled in those cool egg chairs and reading books. And we were able to launch a really cool reading program called Beanstack. It has like a leaderboard of reading minutes, and the kids, they read and they log the books that they're reading, and then you get to see how many minutes that you've read and where your friends are at. And I've read more than my friend, and you read more than you. And Mrs. Kreiner has done an incredible job of building challenges into that program that she offers them incentives with, and it's really kind of helped to foster just a real good culture of reading in our school, which was really important to me. So that's been really great. We also had our first LIS mixer. We welcomed over 300 of our students to that first mixer. The idea was to get the kids from all 3 elementary schools to kind of introduce each other to other kids they might know through baseball or cheerleading or soccer, whatever it might be. And they had a great time, and we're eagerly anticipating our Halloween spooktacular at the end of this month. So it's exciting. Of course, with celebrations comes challenges. You can prep and plan and plan and prep and prep and plan for close to 2 years we did for our school. And until we have those 493 students walking in the halls and living the schedule that we created and feeling what that looks like, you don't really know what that's like until the end. We had some really important non-negotiables to us when we first built our schedule. One of the biggest was a double block of reading and math to up those minutes in those really important content areas. We wanted to be able to offer recess. We think it's important at that developmental stage. It can help with learning how to resolve conflicts. It just gets those wiggles out in the middle of the day. Offering fine arts electives to all of our kiddos, and then a beginning and end of day homeroom. All of those non-negotiables come with lots of transitions, and those transitions really were a struggle for students and for staff. And when you're moving all 493 students all at one time, it was a big challenge. So, racked my brain until I couldn't rack it anymore, and finally reached out to Mr. Anderson. And he helped us develop a really great new schedule. I can't talk. It's been a long day. He helped us develop a new schedule, and we really kind of embraced that idea of focusing on solution and continuing to improve our building. And while nothing is perfect, it's pretty close, and my teachers love it. And those teachers I'm so excited for and that I care about so much. Almost every single one of them I've been able to connect with in this week that we've been living this new schedule, and almost every single one of them has just said, it's so much better. Because even when there is a passing period, it's rarely a time there are 493 kiddos moving at one time now, because many of our blocks are now back to back instead of separated. When you're planning and prepping, you think separating those blocks, great idea, gives you a break, gets up, lets you get those wiggles out and come back. But it's tough because then you've got all of those kids in a very small area trying to move. We were also able to elongate our passing periods a little bit, so they're able to kind of go to their lockers. They're not having to carry as much with them as they had been throughout the beginning of the year, and calmed everything down quite a bit. Really good things.
Hey Gina, can I interrupt?
Yes.
Pardon me. Everything is always a team effort, and there was a coffee with the superintendent at Old Dog back at the beginning of September, and parents actually provided really good insight about the length of the passing periods, and they also brought up about the 10 a.m. lunch period.
Mm-hmm.
You were also able to shift lunch to
Yep.
be the first one to start like approximately 10:25.
Right.
So the feedback is good, and then I love the shared responsibility of our guiding principal, and then the focus on solutions to figure out how to make it happen. And it seems like everybody came together to keep an open mind, and as a result, we didn't have to wait until the end of the quarter, or the semester, or next school year. Like, if something's not happening, let's do something about it, and the team did.
Yeah, it was great. And it's hard because when you're in it and when you built it from scratch, scratch. And I used to say that all the time, you know, we built this from scratch. It's really hard to see anything else. So I was really thankful and really grateful to Mr. Anderson to kind of step in and be able to see it with a clean set of eyes, who wasn't seeing all of the obstacles. As we were working through it, I was really transparent with him, and I'm struggling to see this just because I've lived this for 2 years. We kind of lived this original schedule that we had built, but it's been such a wonderful change. And I know that my teachers are really happy. The students that I've been able to talk to at recess, for the majority of them are really happy. Some of them are complaining about, you know, math for 80 minutes, but they'll learn to love it eventually. So, but really good things, and we're very excited to see how our school continues to take shape. But I'm sure, you know, there will be more changes. If you've driven past lately, our playground is underway. I was hoping for it to be finished at the end of this week. It doesn't look like it's going to be, so hopefully soon. And I'm really excited to see all the kids on it. It's funny, people say, you know, recess, it's gotta be so hard, and there is, it's hard but it's also really cool. It's really neat to kind of spend that time during the day, and we've been really blessed with great weather, so to be able to be outside and just looking at them playing, and, you know, they're playing volleyball, and they're just really enjoying themselves out there, and it's such a great little break in the day for our kids, so I'm really excited.
You can see.
Thanks. That's pretty much all I had.
Thanks for this
Thank you.
update. I know, you know, a good leader, kind of like you were just saying, is not failing, and it's being able to adapt and change, and you've put a lot of time into that schedule, and being able to just kind of take it and say, you know what, it's a Tuesday in the middle of the semester, in the middle of the grading period, and we're not going to do this anymore. That's huge, and that's really speaks a lot for your leadership, and I'm glad that you're leading this school and that we're working through those kinks right as they come up, so thank you. Thank you.
And it's National Principals Month, so. Hip hip.
14 Shades of Red. Other questions for me or any other insights I can share?
No, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, anything else for the superintendent report?
I forget.
Okay, board member report.
I have one. As a member of the NICEAG Board of Managers, we had our meeting last night. I won't bore you with all the general board meeting stuff, but some of the outstanding things that we highlighted and covered was the 2025 general budget, the financial budget for NICEAG. And again, like all the other schools in the area, it's suffering because of lack of funding. And so they're making aggressive efforts to reduce staffing where they can that don't jeopardize the well-being of the students that are under their care. They're reducing things, they're cutting back on supplies and things that they can get away with, and applying for more grants and things that support the school. Another area that stood out of the meeting last night was the 2025 capital projects budget. They kind of spelled out what was completed this year and what is perceived or needed in the upcoming years. And again, those are concerns because of the funding, but they're doing the best to put monies together to afford all of those things, such as roofs, air conditioning, heating units, floor tile, things of that nature. And then the last thing that kind of is a highlight of the meeting was reviewing some of the procedures for non-public schools and homeschool services that they're obligated to address for students that have special needs. So those are some of the highlights.
Thanks, Nate. Okay. That does it for reports. We have a special presentation tonight, the Tri Creek Education Foundation Grant Award recipients. Mrs. Haberlin, if you'd like to come on up.
One of my friends with me.
Oh, wow, you got a team there.
It takes a team, doesn't it, Nate?
It does.
So thank you for allowing us to be here tonight. Let me introduce our folks here. This is Elaine Brown, our president, Janice Bruce, Elaine Bohart, and they are on the grant committee. Other members who couldn't be here tonight are Dennis Keithley and Amanda Huber and Kirk McQuiston. We also want to thank Mr. Deal and Mr. Blackman for their support whenever we have curriculum questions about the grants that we're reading or technology questions. They're right there to answer those for us. So they help us make good decisions. Other members of the foundation, all of us have a connection to Tri Creek in some way. Some of the graduated from there many years ago. Many of us have worked for Tri-Creek, and others are community members whose children have come through this school district. So we're happy to be here to help. So each year we have a competitive grant program. We share our funds with creative and talented Tri-Creek staff members. And this year we received 20 applications. We are happy that we are able to fund 16 of those. And every year we're just impressed by the ideas and the creativity that Tri-Creek staff members show. And we enjoy reading their plans, and then we learn a lot about the district as we're reading their work. So it's great. We have a lot of community support. We had good participation in our Labor Day 5K this year. So we have been able to fund over $26,000 in projects this year. And they will impact students K-12 at all schools. So pretty exciting. I'm going to introduce the grant recipients now. We'll ask them to come up. These ladies have their packets for them. And then we can congratulate them. They're each going to give a brief summary of their project as well. So first, we have Julie Homans from Lowell High School. She's receiving 1,000, you first. Julie will receive $1,250 for LHS Red Devil Esports. Julie.
So yeah, thank you so much for this grant. This is going to allow us to buy some of the initially the Nintendo Switches that we use for our Super Smash Bros. Ultimate team. We're part of the Indiana Esports Network, and we have had 4 official matches for that team, and then we have a Monday team that plays the game Valorant. So we're getting some equipment like controllers and some mouse pads that they've asked for, and then we'll have our own Switches also so that the kids don't have to bring their sessions. So thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. And next we have Tim Higgins, also from Lowell High School, $1,100 interactive child care infant project, and he'll be working with Michael Stone.
Yeah, the sociology and psychology students are in for quite a surprise, quite a new learning experience. They're going to be parents for a couple of days. We're going to buy the stimulator babies, and they're going to have to take care of them for a couple of days, and they're going to learn a whole lot, I'm sure, real quick. Yeah, right. So thank you very much.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Veronica LePage, also Lowell High School, $1,005 for interactive, no, that was Tim, never mind. $1,005 for Art Courtyard mural.
I'm so proud of our art department here, and we are so fortunate to have this courtyard outside of the art rooms that's, I don't know how utilized it was before we got there, but my kids use it all the time in summer month, like at the springtime and everything, and they spread out, they work on all sorts of different kinds of artwork with the sunlight on it to see it better. But to be totally honest, it kind of looks like a prison yard out there. And the kids have always wanted to have a huge mural out there to make it their own, and this is gonna really help us. Our plan is to make these big colorful splashes and then focus on local botanical life from Northwest Indiana with like giant flowers, a little bit abstract, a little bit fun. So I know they're gonna make it their own, and I'm super excited about it, so.
Is that this one right around here?
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
You go around that way?
Yeah, go around this way, and then this one connected to the ag room.
Okay, yeah.
Spanish, and then ceramics, and then my room.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear you use it and you're gonna beautify it.
I have more plans to try to write more grants to amp that place up. I appreciate it, thank you so much.
Keep them coming, Veronica. Gary Lemke from Lowell High School will receive $5,000 for manufacturing robots, and Gary's not here tonight, but he sent a little statement, so I'll share that with you. I would like to thank the board for this grant. The grant will help fund technology education for our future engineers and engineering technologists. The project we are funding will help them understand how automation plays a part in manufacturing. This project will also help students understand the value of flexible automation solutions. So that's Gary's grant. Darrell Hebel, Lowell High School, $630 for the longest title, so he's way back there. Skills USA, Indiana State Leadership and Skills Conference for Precision Machining and Welding, working with Ken Roach, is that correct?
So this is a competition we've been in last 3 or 4 years. We've taken anywhere from 4 to 8 students to Indianapolis for the weekend. They participate against kids from all across the state, competing in whatever skill they're in, whether it's machining or welding. Last year, our team welding fabrication was the state title winner, so they could have went on to nationals. Couldn't make that work, but this is to help cover some of the registration costs associated with that. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Moving on to the middle school, Charlotte English is getting $1,350 for task boxes galore.
I'm going to buy 30 pre-made task boxes for my students. I teach the life skills. So it's going to be across different academic areas. It's going to promote independence and engage the students in the classroom. So I'm really excited and I can't wait to share with them.
Great.
So thank you.
Also from Lowell Middle School, Eric Stoll, $918 for Red Devil News.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Our kids, we do the Red Devil News. It is a TV news program. They write it, they create it, they direct it, they edit it, they do everything. So it's going to help get us a new camera in our studio and several wireless mics for their new iPads that they have and for the studio as well. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Oh, and subscribe to our channel.
Is it on Facebook, YouTube? What's it? YouTube, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
LMS News.
And from Lowell Intermediate School, Robin Plansinski, Think Like a Scientist, $720.
We are going to, I say we, my science team, obviously sharing with them, we're going to purchase like kid-friendly microscopes so the kids can really get their hands on science tools at a young age without having to pull out the big high school glass slides, and they're going to be able to bring in items from home, their backyard, from their trips to travels, and really spark the curiosity of science hands-on within the classroom. I'm excited because there's not a lot of boundaries here. It's going to be open to whatever they want to take a closer look at. It's going to spark collaboration between the groups, critical thinking, and really guide our research on what's around our community. Thank you.
Very cool.
I hired Robin. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Way back in June.
That's why you can pronounce her name so well.
I can even spell her name. Next we have Nikki Burgess. I don't know if Nikki is here. Good. Good. Nikki's from Lowell Intermediate School also. And I worked with Nikki when she was a student teacher.
A long time ago.
That was a long time ago, Nikki. Let's see, Nikki is getting $3,897 for Vex Go Robotics. Congratulations.
First, I want to say thank you very much. I really appreciate this and I'm very grateful for it and for the opportunity that the students are going to have, the learning opportunity and hands-on. So thank you. I'm very excited about it. And Vex Robotics is a program that encourages creative thinking, teamwork, and problem solving. And robotics is our future, so what better way to have students get their hands-on experience but to design and create a robot and program and code to make the robot complete a task. So thank you very much. I'm so excited. We're going to take this and we're going to really run with it, and it's a great way to start planning and creating that 6th grade curriculum. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Let's see, Jennifer Frizzell from Three Creeks. She's getting $1,500 for playground communication boards, which will be shared among all 3 elementary schools.
Yes, thank you so much. We're excited. I, along with the speech and language team, we're getting 3 communication boards for the playgrounds. So this will help students who may be minimally speaking, non-speaking, to learn to communicate and play at the same time. And also it is AAC Awareness Month, which is augmentative and alternative communication. So this goes right along with that. Will help them find their voice and while they learn and play together. So thank you.
Julie Whitney from Three Creeks is going over tonight. She's getting $1,670, and she's also doing task boxes for the RISE program at Three Creeks, which would be similar to yours, wouldn't they? Jennifer Wilson from Three Creeks is receiving $3,230 for VEX coding robots for the classroom. Congratulations.
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Nikki has said for the sixth grade, we are bringing the VEX classroom version of the IQ robots to Three Creeks, which they will be able to, third and fourth graders will be able to build, code, program, and collaborate together. The VEX platform is what all of the robotics from elementaries all the way through high schools compete with. So this is the classroom version, and I am so grateful. And my students are going to be so excited to hone their coding skills and be able to build, engineer, and code together. So thank you so much.
Diana Torres from Three Creeks will get $2,250 for how many languages do you speak? And I believe that will be shared across the district as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. I joked with my team that I was going to do 2 sentences. I'm going to do a little bit more than 2 sentences. This came about because we have now a Vietnamese family in the district, and as the librarian, when I read to him, he just curls up and doesn't listen because he's hearing me, but he's not hearing me. And these are earbuds that the teacher and the student will put on, and there's an app on their iPhone, it can be put on, their iPad, and it can be put on a phone also, that I'll be able to read the story in English and he'll hear it in Vietnamese. So I thought we all needed it, and Jennifer Roberts is running around with one set, the whole district, and when I heard about it, I said, you know what, I gotta do this for not just Three Creeks, but for Tri-Creek. So that's what I did. I mean, we have Spanish speaking, and I could speak a little Spanish, but I can't even imagine what that child is thinking, trying to be taught without knowing a language. So that's why the last day, thank you, last day I put it in the mail. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
And that's why we extend deadlines. Michelle Hubbard from Oak Hill will receive $516 for breaking the code. She's got a team with her.
First, thank you all for your continued support and dedication. What you do for our kids, it's great.
That's why we do it.
So, as Kevin mentioned with our professional development, we are learning a lot about the science of reading, and it truly is cracking a code. It's very systematic, and sometimes the text that you have, it can be a little dry. So what this is going to allow us to do is have access to high-quality, engaging text that can meet our kiddos where they're at. So we're really excited for this. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you. And I think it's Rebecca Antek. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. And Amanda Haskins will be working with Michelle.
Yep.
I hired Amanda too. No, they bragging. Okay. Nikki Shapranda is not here with us tonight, but Nikki is going to receive $425 for the third grade team at Lake Prairie. They're going to do a Challenger Engineering Adventure field trip. Nikki has received a grant from the Challenger Center to support some of that, and the PTO at Lake Prairie will be supporting that as well. So congratulations to Nikki. And neither is Cheryl Butch. Cheryl's not feeling well tonight. Cheryl is from Lake Prairie. She'll get $1,096 for revving up motor skills. They're going to purchase a variety of materials to help students with fine and gross motor skills, finding that there are more and more children coming to school without those skills, and hoping to concentrate those at kindergarten and first grade level. But they can be used for all grade levels. And both Nikki and Cheryl did send along a thank you. And I'm wondering if, I thought I'd lost something here. In addition to our competitive grants, each year we also fund some projects that have really become embedded in the culture of Tri-Creek. And we're able to do that because several years ago, 11 or 12 years ago, we received a bequest from the Ruth and Joe Weinberg estate to fund several projects that the foundation would like to support. We pay $300 per classroom for fifth grade Challenger field trips. We support the Lowell High School Mentor Program for $5,000, the Lowell Middle School 8th grade trip for $5,000, robotics teams for elementaries and middle school and intermediate school, $1,200 each school. The Lowell High School EV go-kart team receives $1,500 from us each year. The Camp Invention STEM Enrichment Program in the summer, we will fund them for $750 to allow them to give some scholarships to students to attend that. Lowell High School dual certification and AP exam scholarships, we'll be giving them $2,500 this year. Last year, we initiated a new project where we give each kindergarten student a book before they come to school at their Meet the Teacher night. And this year, we spent $1,243. So when you add up all of the grants that we've given this year and these annual funding programs, we are contributing to Tri-Creek this year $51,232. And that is our highest total ever. So we're pretty excited about that. Yes. So grant recipients, we're going to move out into the hallway and take some pictures. Thank you.
I just want to thank all of you on the Education Foundation for what you're doing for our students. And I want to thank those of you that applied for these grants, came up with these ideas, saw the need. It's providing so much diversity for our programming that you see it because you're in the classrooms and you know in the schools. So thank you for taking the time and caring to do it, and thank you for being the vessel to support it. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.
It's very heartwarming to see the teachers come up here and be so excited.
Right. It is.
About what they're doing, and especially when you got grandkids in the system and they're gonna benefit.
Thank
And we know how hard teachers are working now to take the time
Yes.
to put a proposal together and then follow up with the paperwork that we require.
Yeah.
That's
It's
true
a commitment on
compassion.
their part.
Thank you.
With the robotics, I know that you guys support us, and so we wanted to just offer it out. We have our first competition November 2nd in Crown Point, so if you would like to come or even come to some of our practices to see what our children are doing, it's pretty amazing. We have third and fourth graders who are coding and doing all that stuff on their own, more stuff than what we know. So if you would like to come, reach out to us, and I would like to have you just see what they're doing.
Amanda, would you shoot the foundation an email with details?
Yeah, absolutely.
We do show up at those things from time to time.
Great, thank you. Photo time.
All right.
This Glenn Staples I was talking to.
Oh, it's Glenn.
Thank you so much.
I was in so afraid to get in.
That's
I will, when I see her.
Good to see her.
Good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and move forward. Regular business consent items, we'll do them together. Approve the minutes of the meeting held Thursday, September 26, 2024, and approve payroll claims. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and the payroll.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Approve the personnel report dated October 10th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Business operations, we are going to have the public hearing for the 2025 budget, the 2025-29 bus replacement plan, the 2025-27 capital projects plan. It's gonna work. Ooh, this is nice. Here we are.
Whoa, this is crazy. We've got screens and everything now.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Oh, wow. I haven't stood over here to see. Okay, so the 2025 budget here in public hearing. So I will run through the information on our budget, and I'll give you some stats and how we've arrived at our numbers here. So let me see. It's not moving, Jay. Oh, okay, there. Just a little delayed. Okay. So today is our adoption, or it's actually our public hearing day. Next board meeting on the 24th, we will have our adoption of those plans. And in January, the DLGF hopefully will get everything reviewed and be able to send it back to us, and we'll have everything loaded. I have to say this is the first budget that I've been able to fully write and prepare in our new financial system that we switched. I say new, it was November of 2022, but we couldn't really, we were already done with our 23 budget, and we didn't have everything fully loaded and implemented in the system. So the 24 budget was kind of a hodgepodge between Dana's spreadsheets and the financial system. So this time I was able to ditch all of my spreadsheets and work actually in our financial system the way I'm supposed to. And it was wonderful. I just have to say it was really streamlined things for me and really helped me out a lot. So that was wonderful. So board approval is going to be required to adopt our Form 4. That's what it's known as. That's our appropriations, which are, the technical term for our budget. And the maximum levy, which is the property tax dollars that we're going to ask the public for. We will also adopt a bus replacement plan, which is a 5-year glimpse of a 12-year cycle of all of our buses. Our capital assets plan, which is for 3 years, and we only list things on there that are going to cost us more than $10,000. We'll adopt a resolution here about how much money we're going to transfer from the education fund to the operations fund. And then the last thing that I'm going to bring to the board is an appropriation reduction resolution for the education fund for our current year. Due to our budget reduction that we've gone through, we're not spending as much and we're not utilizing our full budget from the 2024 school year. So, or 2024 calendar year. So if I bring a budget reduction to the board, we can carry that cash forward to help fund our 2025. If I don't bring that resolution to the board, they assume we spend it all, and then we have to go through an appropriation extension to get that money next year. So it's just using it now, and it's through our cost savings that we have that we're able to do a budget reduction at this time for the current year 2024. Just to go over, we have major funds that we're budgeting here for. It's our education fund, our operations fund, and our debt funds. But to go over education fund and operations fund, they work together, hand in hand. So our education fund is for anything that's truly close to the classroom. That's instructional in nature, things that are right there. Operations fund are a little bit more removed from the classroom, but it also supports the whole education process. Revenue for that education fund is in the form of state tuition support, and it's based on enrollment. And we also have some local revenue, minor things for like charging for facility use might go into their rebate money, stuff like that. For operations fund, it is totally funded by property taxes there. And you get some supplemental funds where you're transferring between the two funds. So we get all of our state tuition support. It's got to go into that education fund, but then we transfer a portion of that into the operations fund to support our operations fund. Let's go. I wanted to start with
the journey that we've gone on over the last couple of years here to get to where we are right now as far as our budget. We have to look at the budget reduction that we've done since we've lost the referendum in May of 2023. So the referendum was ran to preserve our ESSER granted fund positions, to provide competitive staff salaries and wages, and to further expand educational programs and safety programs here. We were looking for a preschool, we were looking for additional SROs and safety programs, mental health supports within our school districts under that expansion bucket. With the loss of the referendum, we had to make some strong, and very difficult choices here on how we were going to move forward. We spoke a lot about competitive staff wages. You know, when you've got school districts that border you here that are paying a starting wage of close to 60 and will exceed 60,000 for a starting school salary here, and we're at 48,000, and we really struggled to get to that 48. Without the referendum funds supporting that, we have to make some strong choices here and some very difficult choices. So we had a phase one, I'll call it, of cuts that we went through. And that started right after the referendum didn't pass, and we implemented in the summer of 23, leading into the school year 23-24. So that was practicing some strict attrition here. So every position that possibly left for another school district or left education or any retirement, resignations, those types of things, we evaluated that position for continuance. We had positions in grant funds that we knew we wanted to continue. So we went through a trimming of our staff at that point. 6 elementary teachers, 1 high school counselor, 8 elementary classroom aides at that point, and then we converted a middle school principal to a dean position leading into the 23-24 school year. That was about $780,000. We were able to, at that point, bring our starting salary from $44,000 to $48,000 for teachers, and increase some of our positions there by using some of that reduction money to invest back in our staff. We still had positions funded by ESSER grants there that we knew would end in September of 24, so we had to plan for that cliff of what we were going to do to actually support those positions, or if we were going to cut those positions. So we went through phase 2, what I call of budget reduction, where we formed committees to work together, admin teams in the buildings, to take a look and see where could we trim further in order to support those staff members that were in ESSER positions. We brought a recommendation to the board on that, the fruit of our labor here, let's say, in the spring of 2024, which resulted in a further reduction of $920,000 to our overall budget, combined between education and operations fund. This reduction offset the ESSER positions that were in there, which we had 4 teachers, 2 deans, and 1 counselor. Currently, right now, we have a NYSEC cost increase of about $120,000. We have NIPSCO cost increase as well, about $175,000 on a yearly basis. And then also 2 kindergarten positions that we had to add for this year. So yes, we're cutting $920,000, and yes, we cut $780,000, but we're still investing into our staff in a methodic way, and we're also taking on a lot more costs too, as a result of just the environment out there here in this budget. So looking forward, I wanted to talk a little bit about the phase 2 cuts. Even though we brought them to the board and went through it, yes, that's a big number, $920,000, but this is where it all shakes out to. We had $641,000 in personnel. We converted an assistant principal to a dean at the high school, reduced 6 teaching positions, reduced $84,000 in the classroom aides, reduced the opportunity center aides, attrition savings through retirements and resignations here as well. So that was the bulk of the money there that we trimmed. The rest is like software and alternative program changes, supplies, trimming budgets, and getting not mandatory PE uniforms and general supplies, stuff like that that we actually looked at. We turned over every stone here to actually trim that budget. Personnel, central office financial assistant over on the operations side, we switched over to a receptionist and cut back on the level of work on there, and so we all absorbed some of that work and took on more software choices that we made to reduce technology and supplies. Again, we were able to provide increases with this, and we took on those extra costs in this budget. So the net effect here is about $550,000 in saving, even though it's $920 on paper, because of the additional costs that we're taking on for NYSEC and such. So I wanted to back into that so that when we look at these budget numbers and we see where we're heading, we also know where we've been and what we've gone through to get here. Because losing that referendum resulted in a lot of decisions that we had to make here to get here. And I'm not, again, I started with the expansion of programs that we really wanted in the referendum. And that's not something that we can add into the budget as a result of this. This is just getting to the point where we can give some decent wages and not lose our staff to everyone over the border here. So starting with the education fund. The education fund, I'll have a slide like this for each one of the funds. So revenues there, what my budget assumptions of revenues here. I am happy to report, and you'll see a slide of our enrollment trend. Our ADM, average daily membership, is 3,256. Last year, at this time, we were 3,240. So we're up 16 students when you're looking October to October. But the real number in between is our second count, because there's 2 count days that actually affect our money. And that would be our October and our February count. So our February count of 2024 was actually 3,200. So if you're counting from February to now, we gained 56 students, of which 41 are open enrollment students. So that's noteworthy to see that our open enrollment is still helping. But we are seeing a positive trend in our enrollment, and I expect it to continue going forward. We'll see that in another slide. Part of that, we're looking at ADM because each child, of course, equals state tuition money, and our state tuition money increased 1.4% over last year. Keep that number in mind because we'll talk about that going forward, about how that compares to, increases in costs and stuff like that. So 1.4. And we also have a $50,000 decrease in CTE funding revenue this year as compared to the previous periods, and then $5,000 increase or 5% increase in special ed grant funding. That's what the state funneled into the formula. Expenditures, the assumptions here include a 1.5% increase in health insurance. That's 1.5%. It was actually a 3% increase that the district took on, or that we had, and we split it between premiums and the employee. Includes a $118,000 increase in that NYSEC. It includes increases in compensation plans that we'll be bringing to the board November 5th, I believe, if not sooner. It also includes that transfer from education fund to operation fund of $2 million. 8% is what that equates to of our state funding money. So you are allowed to transfer up to 15% to your operations fund from your education money coming in. And Tri-Creek has a wonderful assessed value. We do get a high tax rate pay here. Our public pays their taxes, 98% of them do, as opposed to other districts in our region up in Lake County. So we are able to lower that amount that we transfer from education to operation compared to other school districts within our own region that are struggling to make that 15%. So we're fortunate in that regard. We've always been around 6%, between 6 and 8%. So I'm recommending an 8% transfer this year. And then new in 2025, We are now including what used to be a separate fund. It was a curricular materials fund, and it was totally separate. The money that would come into that curricular materials fund was all the student fees that parents would pay for their stuff. But now the state is funding that, and now they're combining it into the education fund. So all of those expenditures that we used to have in the curricular materials fund for our books and our all of our licensure and everything that we need are now part of the education fund. And that was about $600 to $700, even up to $800, depending on what adoption we're doing. $800,000 a year is now going into the education fund, and the state is giving us a separate funding line for that. So revenue sources here, we talked about the basic tuition, we talked about the special grants, the career and technical education specials, the special education funding. So 99% of the revenue in education fund is based solely on enrollment. So if we're reducing enrollment, we're reducing enrollment. And typically it doesn't follow the same pattern of you lose 30 kids and they're all in one classroom so you can reduce one section or one teacher. That doesn't work that way. They're spread out throughout the district, so it's really hard to reduce as many students or as many staff members as there are as teachers going or as students are going. So we really, you're really reliant upon that revenue source here. And there's very little other types of revenue that actually support the education fund. District enrollment trend here. So this is a good chart to look at because it shows the last 15 years. And as Dr. Kleefisch likes to point out, when did you, where was you?
15.
14-15, okay, that's when Dr. Kleefisch left, so you can see the negative numbers. He took his kiddos with us, I guess. And now that he's back, we're on the positive, so they're coming back. Yes, you can see that we were on a negative trend, and now we're on a positive trend as far as enrollment. Noteworthy thing on this slide here is if we kept every student that we had back in 2010 and 2011, that 3,600, we would have we'd have close to $3 million more a year in our budget to support. So the loss of the kiddos is big when you look at it all throughout the years, even though we've increased in funding thanks to the increases that our legislators have, but that's a very large number for us. This is the slide that I like a lot. Where I'm comparing kindergarten class to senior class. So your kindergarten class is your gray, your senior class is your red. And you see a 15-year trend there. So you've got 2 years here where we're actually exceeding, our kindergarten class is exceeding our senior class. This is important because this is the story of why we were declining. You could see our senior class is higher and we're bringing in a smaller kindergarten class. So this year is the first year since 2021-22 school year that we're actually on the positive with our kindergarten class versus senior class. 21-22, I would probably say those were mainly pandemic related, where they kept their kids out for a year of school, and then they were actually 6-year-old kindergartners that came in, so we had a bumper crop that year of 290. But this year is the first year where you see that tip, which is good because that's kind of indicative of all the building that we've got going on and the homes in our area. History of career and technical education, you can see it's floating there right between just in the $900,000 range that we're estimating. Actually, I think I was $5,000 off on this one, wasn't I, with my estimates today, Andy? It was $943,000 was the number that we got, so I was off by $5,000. Special education funding increasing, again, it's a 5% increase that we're looking at through the funding formula, and that's what I built into the budget. So overall, our basic grant 10-year fund history, you can see that yes, we are, even though we were losing students, we were still increasing in revenue because the state legislator was putting more money into the funding formula. But to take a look at that, here's a 5-year average on here for as far as
the funding, our basic grant funding. So that is without all those special grants on there. That's without our career and technical education, without our special ed. We get about $7,000 per child. So that's a 1.4% increase over last year from the state that every school district got in the state of Indiana. 1.4. Think of how that compares to inflation. The 1.4. Think of that about how that compares to what an increase might be, an expected increase for an employee just to stay here in Tri Creek and not jump the border to go make $15,000 more at another school district. 1.4% increase. When we add our special grants on there, it's actually 1.7, so we get a little bit more. But you can see that the difference between inflation and our increases throughout those 5 years is about 3.67% difference there. It's not keeping pace, and people are definitely feeling it in their paychecks on that. So it's doing a lot more with less. So the last 3 years, we've averaged about a 3.35% increase in funding, yet inflation's risen 5.17. This is an education cash flow by school year, 21-22, 22-23, and up to our estimated 24-25. On this chart here, what we're looking at is the difference in transfer and operations. You can see that in blue. We have receipts above the line, and we've got expenditures below the line there. And you can see our cash balance. What you see is an increase in cash balance. We were down to 6.1% in 21-22 in our education fund balance, which prudent is at least 12%. And where we adopted a policy to keep at least a 16% reserves, which is the recommended amount to have in reserves by the department, the DUA board and the DLGF. So you can see we've been adding to cash balance over the last couple of years. Those are some big numbers. But that is mainly due to the reason that's because we had staff in ESSER grants. We had staff in grants and we were banking our education money a little bit more. But now those staff, all that staff that we had in ESSER grants, we did bring in there. So you can see we built up our cash balance to get back into the prudent range at least, and then some. And now you can see it's going to level off at the end of this school year here, where our cash balance, what we're adding to cash balance isn't as much because we assume those staff into our education fund. So education fund, the recommended budget here is $25,500,000. Last year it was $24,500,000. Major change in this one again is that we're putting our curricular materials fund into the budget, and we've got a lot of increases too as well that have come up, like our NICIC and everything else. So that's the reason for the increase in the budget. We will have increase in revenues to support that. We will have curricular material funds, so that's the recommended budget here for you. Looking at the breakdown here of the recommended budget, the personnel, of that $25,500,000 that I'm recommending for the budget, actually $250,000 is for things other than personnel. So we're very reliant on personnel here in our education fund. A majority of it is all personnel. There's not much more in education fund. One of the things that we have to look at and be mindful of is there is an Indiana code that requires a school district to spend at least 62% of their state tuition support on full-time teacher compensation. And when they say teacher compensation, that's salary and benefits combined. So you have to do a calculation to make sure. There are school districts that are struggling to meet this 62%. Because they're either not paying the salaries or they don't have the benefits embedded in there. So what I have on screen here is the total of all of our Tri Creek full-time teacher salary and benefit package, that $15,700,000. You also include your NICIC staff. If we were self-operated on our special ed, those numbers would be in our teachers, but we are allowed to put our NICIC teacher salaries in there, so we've got that for a total. And we exceed the 62%, we're at 66.41%. We have a very healthy, rich benefit package here to coincide with our salaries. And I have to say that many of our teachers stay here because of our benefits, because of our health insurance, because of the benefit package here. There are school districts, yes, the ones that border us that are paying the $57,000, $58,000 starting rates, but they don't contribute as much to their insurance. And so teachers may be lured to those districts at those high salary rates, but when you actually look at the bottom line, they're probably kind of in pace with us because we pay more towards our insurance than they would. They would have to pay more for their health insurance. They wouldn't have the retirement benefits that we contribute to. So operations fund, again, this is property tax based, and it is also reliant and subject to the circuit breaker loss. Circuit breaker loss is the tax cap that you have on the type of property that you have, 1%, 2%, or 3%. State of Indiana says that you cannot pay more than 1%, let's say, of your total property tax. Anything above that is known as a circuit breaker loss to those taxing entities and their schools, libraries, police, fire, all of that. So we take a reduction in our tax when our public meets that tax cap. So in 2024, it's $533,000, $469 in loss, and it's estimated by the DLGF that we'll have $550,000 in loss. Again, this has the education transfer money coming into it. And as far as expenditures, we are limited by how much we can increase this fund. It is a maximum levy cap of 4%. Our assessed value increased 4.99% this time around. So it's capped in that situation, so we can't capture that extra 1% that's there. By state code. So it includes the increase in health insurance in there. It includes all our building improvements and expenditures for the business office and for maintenance and custodial and all that, the things that are farthest away from the classroom. The revenue, again, property tax, all of our miscellaneous, but we are very reliant on our tax draw here. 79% of the revenue here is from the tax draw. The 20% is from that $2 million that we're moving from education fund. And then we've got some miscellaneous revenue like facility use and things like that, indirect costs from other programs. So one of the cost saving measures or increasing of our revenue this year is that we are charging the food service program the indirect cost rate. So our food service operates in our buildings. They don't pay electric, they don't pay gas, they don't pay water and stuff. So we are allowed to charge an indirect cost rate to the food service program to help offset those costs here in the district. So the food service program is now it's about $100,000 a year is that they're offsetting in our overall indirect costs. So that's helping float our revenue here in operations fund. This is just a chart to show how that circuit breaker has looked over the years. As far as we hit a high water mark in 2023 of $652,000 in loss. And our operations fund budget before you today is $9,508,039. The breakdown of it so that includes your capital projects, it includes your transportation and a lot of your technology and systems are in there, again, things that are farther away from the classroom. This is another look here to see that our capital projects and how that breaks down. So the majority of it is between maintenance of equipment, technology, and insurance. Insurance rates, I'm cautioning the board we're going to possibly have to get creative on offset of increase of that because I am hearing some major increases in other districts in the insurance realm that we might have to get creative with some of our deductibles or our plan structure. It's just the trend. It's not necessarily our history in our insurance. It is trend out in industry. You've got hurricane going on right now. Things cost more right now, so those insurance rates are going up regardless of what your history is, and all of that. So that's one thing that we're keeping an eye on because we're in renewal right now. So I may have some changes to our overall design that we've had for years in order to offset those costs. Transportation is a part of this. I always like to highlight transportation on this because those, we got to get the kiddos to school here. And our district is very large by comparison to many other districts in the Northwest Indiana range. We are 179 square miles. 179 square miles. That's huge. It's the southern third of Lake County. When you see a map of it, and you see Tri Creek, southern third, that's a lot of landscape. We drive a lot of miles. 554,800 miles. And that's over 3,000 a day that we're driving. We had 69, almost 70,000 gallons of fuel last year to run our buses, and over 227,000, and that's 8.49 miles per gallon that we've had on our buses here. So the capital projects plan lists all proposed expenditures that exceed $10,000. There are minor things that are on there on the capital projects plan. Usually, and I will say, we're paying our utilities out of there. We're paying insurance out of there. We're paying for staff that can't be in the education fund, like the business office, maintenance, custodial, transportation. So we're spending all that money on just keeping our buildings running. So there's very little that goes into a capital projects plan anymore to purchase. Now we're doing it through bonding of getting our equipment and everything that we need. So you list your expenditures that are over 10,000. We truly, I list things just in case we do need technology, we need replacement of that, but we typically do those through school, common school loans. Custodial and maintenance equipment, if we need a new mower or anything like that. So I've got lists, I've got some items on there, minor things, but I'll tell you, they get bumped every year because there are other needs, and with the rising costs of utilities and insurance, they get bumped, but they're on there. The bus replacement plan remains at a 12-year cycle, between 10 and 12 years, depending on the mileage of the bus and the overall maintenance of it all. At the last board meeting, we approved the purchase of 8 buses. That was 4 for 2024 budget and 4 for 2025 budget. Those were through general obligation bonds. So that's outside of here, so we won't have any bus purchase in this plan for this budget until 2026. So we just list the plan so that you can see we have to list a 5-year replacement. So we did that outside of the operations fund in order to save some room in here in our fund in order to save some money. Debt service funds, those budgets are set solely to pay for what I call, there are bonds, there are mortgages that we've got out there. So we have our construction going on right now that we were able to issue our bonds in 2023 in order to do all of our district-wide improvements right now. So we have bi-yearly payments that we have to do. So that's what our debt service fund actually supports. This fund gets funded before anything else. That's the one thing I want to point out, is that Indiana code requires that every school district needs to make their debt payments regardless of anything else. So we would shut off lights first before we skipped a payment here. So that's an Indiana code. So this is a must, you must go ahead and pay. So this is common school fund loans and everything. So there's a list of our outstanding debts right now that we've got. And then we have one other small fund here, which is the Retirement Debt Service Fund. These were bonds that were issued in 2006 that had a specific purpose to buy out teacher retirement that we were able to do. And we've got these on the books until 2028, and then we'll be able to close down this fund and not have to budget for it. So this went out on Gateway, which is the transparency portal for budgeting and finance. This is our Form 3, and these are the budget estimates, just in summary right here, along with the maximum tax levy, and then you have to report the current tax levy as well. In doing this, next slide will show this a little bit about tax rates here. So you can see in 2024, we advertised a tax rate of 1.21, almost 1.28 or 22, tax rate, $1.22. The actual came in at $1.05, like we promised. I'm advertising a similar rate like we did before, $1.21, and I do anticipate this will come in right at the same level at $1.05. I know the board has requested that we keep the tax rate solid at that $1.05, and we're doing everything we can to keep it there right now. So that's where we're hoping to keep that stable. Comparison of tax rates here in Lake County. You can see Tri Creek there. We are 6th from the bottom there at $1.05. We've got Maryville to our right, and we've got Hanover to our left there. And we're pretty much in line. I think we went up a couple here just because folks are not getting their referendum money. So you can see that I think when we presented during there were 16 schools in Lake County. And when we presented, I believe there were 10 schools that had referendums at that time, and 2 were on the ballot, us and Highland. We are now down to 8 referendum schools and 8 looking to be, looking to fund things in any way they can. And you've only got 2 school districts in our region here that have never been on the ballot. That's East Chicago and Maryville, that have never been on the ballot before. I will say that the Lake Station is on the ballot for November, and there's only 2 other school districts that are on the ballot too at the same time, so it's not really a heavy ticket for schools, but I hope Lake Station can make some changes, and maybe they'll be able to get that referendum, because I don't know how they're going to survive with the way they are right now. So the tax rates in Lake County there, anywhere from 65 cents up to 269 cents. And here's our schedule again. So we started this in January to September here working on the budget. Tonight is our public hearing. I'm going to come back to you on the 24th for budget adoption and approval of all those resolutions. And then hopefully our DLGF will have everything approved for us so we can get it all loaded for 2025. Are there any questions or anything that I can answer?
So thorough, Dana.
Anything from the public that I can answer?
With the additional residences being built in and around in our district, is there any expected increase that we can look towards?
We do, but we'll get that tuition support for those kiddos that show up and actually attend school here. And we will get that additional revenue when they're here. As far as tax revenue, we have all of our new subdivisions have been, they have a residential TIF, which means that the money that would have been, we are throttled at the level of tax that we have now before the land is actually developed. Once the land gets developed, then that money is diverted into a fund for future development by the town. We can receive some of that funding through request, but it does not hit our assessed value. It always stays at that level for the next 20 years. It's a mechanism that helps our community, I'll say that. They can develop water lines, they can work on things like that and infrastructure that is needed. But on the same hand, the schools do need it. The fortunate thing that we've got going on here is that we've been adding on to our schools, and we've made some good choices with how we're structuring our schools. So we don't need to, at this time, and possibly not in the near future, to build another building, which is typically where that hurts, when you have to, when you don't have that extra tax revenue from new people living there to actually support a new building. So at this time, I don't see that as an issue. And our long-term debt projections, we have some drop-off of some of those mortgages that I showed up there. We do have a shelf in the future that we might be able to use if we need to add on or possibly build. So I guess the short answer is we do get some funding from the state if the funding formula stays the same, where it's follows the child and we get additional funding. But as far as tax revenue, we're kind of throttled on that if the development's in those new areas.
We do get a little though from the developments that are out towards 65 once those come to fruition.
Outside of the town limits where they
The commercial developments out there?
Oh yeah, that'll help too.
Looking forward to that.
So at this time, if everybody could take a pencil out and paper, we're gonna have a little quiz.
It's for the quiz now.
All right.
Gina, just to follow up on that this is an example of how it's really important to work together, community organizations, regarding the residential TIF, because the town does have the capability to reroute some of that money back to the school district. And I believe in good faith that they will. And so that's just an incentive to continue to all work together.
It's just hard as someone who does not live within town limits, who doesn't get a voice on who represents me on a town board, that also impacts how my kids are affected.
All right.
Thank
you.
Very thorough.
See you in 2 weeks.
All right, moving on. Item number 2, approve the change order for Goff to provide labor and materials to undercut the areas of Lowell High School main parking lot, north side identified during the proof roll for $58,539.47. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the change order.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I just want to emphasize to the people, I've been involved with the construction, and they're doing it the appropriate way, looking at the details of everything. And this money does seem expensive, but it's being done the right way versus trying to lower that cost, do it cheap, and then 5 years we have to replace everything. So I feel confident that the money that's invested in this is for a good cause.
Yeah, I've put a lot of money into the gravel in my driveway too, and it's starting to pay off now, so.
Yep.
All right, any further?
Sharing that. Thank you for clearing it up.
Thank you.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Approve resolution 2024-09, authorizing litigation against social media companies. Serve a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2024-09.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? You want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so this is a class action lawsuit against social media companies. Calls attention to the growing concerns about the effects of social media on youth and mental health. Emphasize that now is the time to act swiftly and decisively to protect children and adolescents from risk of harm. Basically, we would be joining other school districts in a class action lawsuit filed at both the state and the federal level. Already it's been appealed at the state level. It may not make it to trial at the federal level. If the board approves this resolution, there is no cost to our school district whatsoever. If the data gathering of the effects in Tri Creek and becomes too labor intensive and time intensive, we can pull out at any time and it will not cost us 1 single cent. We have nothing to lose by passing this resolution. If it does go to trial, there could be revenue that would come in as a result of that, and we would reroute that to how we're dealing with social media, which is the interruption to the school day constantly, the impact of mental health and all of our guidance services and our dean of students who would go help back to pay for those increased costs and prevention.
I saw that the Illinois Attorney General is suing, I believe it's TikTok, for similar purposes, so they've launched theirs for the
Aren't the
state.
Fed's doing something as well, trying to get rid of it because the
That
China
was,
connection?
yeah, that was something different, but the Illinois one seemed to be on the same standards as this.
Okay.
So, thought that was interesting with this being on the agenda today. All right, any other discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution to authorize litigation against social media companies? Aye. Motion passes. Business consent operation items. We have donations to accept from, in the amount of $1,850 for the Lowell High School FFA National Convention, Phillips Farm and Sons of Lowell, $500, Terry and Diane Ike of Hebron, $100, Brett and Ann Ellis of Lowell, $50, BZ Farms LLC of Lowell, $300, Zeese and Sons Excavating of Crown Point, $300, Mariner Welding and Fabrication of Tipton, $50, Sharinga Farms and Produce of Highland, $150, Wilford and Linda Hayden of Lowell, $200, Hanford Packing of DeMont, $100, and Lake County Co-op of Crown Point, $100. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion. I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. All right, public comment not related to agenda items. Gina, come on up.
I just wanted to thank you guys for your quick turnaround on the I've lost my mind too.
It's late.
It's a Gina thing. It's a Gina thing. The
Calendar?
no, well, that too. The calendar looks fantastic. It's
Background check?
yes, thank you. Background checks. Ow. It's fun. I'm really excited stepping into the PTO position. I know it's going to be less of a burden on the secretaries when I say, hey, are these people approved to be at the school? So that's fantastic. And I also just wanted to say, come to the band concerts that are coming up next week. They're on the 15th and the 16th, Tuesday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. here in the high school auditorium. One is the middle school, the other one is the high school. So just come and enjoy them. So,
Thank you. Thanks for bringing those things to our attention too. And the marching band, you could see the improvement through the games. The 3 home games that we had, and that last one was the grand finale. It was awesome.
It was.
Really, really cool. And I've heard they're a young group, so they're gonna.
They're a very young group. There's only 8 seniors that are leaving, which we will all miss them very much. But there is the trumpeters, or no, trombone players. Those were 8th graders.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And for their solo up there, they were 8th graders.
That's so cool.
Amazing. So it's really exciting.
I went over to an Illinois football game last Friday.
Yeah.
And yeah, our band definitely blew them away, and that was a big private school.
Yeah. My only other interaction is Concord, because my cousin is band director there. And they're just a massive group. So but even that, I'm so proud of you guys for 65 strong. You rocked it compared to some of the other ones, so it's so exciting.
Hundreds are coming up.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, thanks for all that you do with that.
How did they fare this month?
They got gold with a visual distinction. So they did really well. Yeah.
Great. Okay, the next meeting of the Tri Creek School Board of Trustees is scheduled for Thursday, October 24th, 2024. Any other comments or questions? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.